You over here worrying me to death. I'm leaving my phone, please.
Ready? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, January 13th, 2020 meeting of the Durham County Board of Commissioners. We have adjourned from closed session and given direction to staff. I will now share the public charge. The Board of Commissioners asks its members and citizens to conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous manner, both with the board and fellow citizens. At any time, should any member of the board or any citizen fail to observe this public charge, the chair will ask the offending person to leave the meeting until that individual regains personal control. Should decorum fail to be restored, the chair will recess the meeting until such time that a genuine commitment to the public charge is observed. And as a courtesy to others, please make sure your cell phones are turned off. And I'd ask that everyone now rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, are there any agenda adjustments? Seeing none, I will move on to the announcements. Durham City County Martin Luther King Jr. Employee Observance Program is coming up on Wednesday, January 15th at noon, from noon to 1 p.m. at the First Presbyterian Church, 305 Main Street, as we celebrate the life of Martin Luther King Jr. If you have never attended the City County staff celebration, I encourage everyone to come. It's a wonderful event. We have an incredibly talented city and county choir that sings for that event. Deborah and Drew, are you going to be in it this year? Okay, not you, Deborah? Okay, well, Drew will be in it. Anybody else who's going to be in the choir? Heidi, we need to get you in there with your ukulele. So I hope everybody will come out for that event. And Casey Steinbacher, who is the Made in Durham Executive Director, is going to be the keynote speaker for that event. The Low Income Energy Assistance Program, LEAP, is now available to Durham residents. Any Durham resident that needs assistance with their heating bill can apply now through the Department of Social Services. Applications are accepted Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., Lobby 27 at our Health and Human Services Building, 414 East Main Street. You're welcome. Just walk in. You do not need an appointment. Appointments are preferred, but please call 919-560-8000 for additional information and assistance. Durham One Fund is supporting the displaced McDougall Terrace residents. You can support our hundreds of residents who are now displaced by the impact of the high carbon monoxide levels and mold conditions. You can visit our website to find out the exact, to donate online, but it's through the United Way, www.unitedway.org/Durham-1-fund. But again, if you go to the United Way website or our website, we'll have that information. There's also another fund that has been sanctioned by the McDougall residents, Ashley Kennedy, the resident council president, the Good Neighbor Fund. But please be aware, the Attorney General's office did release a warning about GoFundMe sites that are not sanctioned. So we're encouraging people to use the Durham One Fund or the Good Neighbor Fund. City of Durham's e-waste and textile recycling paper shredding event is happening on Saturday, January 18th, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Durham County Memorial Stadium on the home side parking lot. This is free, and so if you have any old electronics, if you have paper that you need to get shredded, if you have any live Christmas trees, old clothes or textiles, all of those things can be brought to Durham County Stadium this Saturday. The Durham Universal Pre-K applications are open now. This is for the 2021 school year. To be eligible, you must be a Durham County resident, and your child needs to be 4 years old by August 31st, 2020. Please call 1-833-prek.edu or visit the website for www.durhamprek.org for more information. We're really trying to get the word out about people enrolling their children into pre-K. Oh, Ashley, I just seeing you there. I recognize you sitting there. We have now one universal application for early Head Start, all of our pre-K programs. You just need one application. We're trying to make it really easy for people. And we have people, Spanish-speaking staff to help people with their applications, but we want to get everybody enrolled. And just so people know, for Durham Pre-K, a lot of these programs people will be eligible for are free for their children. And then Durham Pre-K is either free or subsidized for every Durham resident. Okay, important voting information for the March 3rd, 2020 primary election is as follows. Absentee by mail voting begins on January 13th. Voter registration deadline for the March 3rd primary is February 7th. Early voting for the upcoming primary election will begin on Thursday, February 13th, and ends on Saturday, February 29th. People will not need an ID, no voter ID for this election. For full details on early voting and other important information, please visit www.dcovotes.com. And I don't want to put Ashley on the spot, but since you're here tonight, Ashley, I do want to recognize you, if you don't mind. If you could even just come to the podium over here. So I want to first, I want to acknowledge all the Durham County staff that have been working really hard, our public health staff, our DSS staff, our emergency management staff, Alliance Health, that really have stepped up and are really trying to support everybody at McDougall Terrace. And I want to acknowledge you, Ashley, as the president of the McDougall Terrace Neighborhood Resident Council, and for your leadership and all of your hard work. And if you would just want to give us an update and whatever you want to share with us now, I just want to really recognize you as a leader in our community.
Well, there's not much to say because I'm really tired, but we just thank everybody for your support, and we're just asking that once this go away, that everybody continues to support McDougall Terrace as we move forward, because people will be transitioning back in their homes, and it's going to be really hard for people coming back because there's still people that are worried. And I'm just asking that everybody just, respect that, and when people say they need space, just give them that space. and just continue to be in McDougal, just continue to show presence, not just now, but after this goes over, just still could show the community your support.
Thank you. And you'll let us know how we can help in Durham
I sure
County?
will. I'll
Yes.
let you guys know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other announcements tonight? Okay, we will move on to our minutes. We have the November 25th, 2019, and December 9th, 2019 regular session minutes.
Second, Madam Chair, I'd like the staff to follow up. I mentioned one of the directives to the county manager, which was getting regular updates from the jail as to how many sentenced felons we're holding. But there are other directives in actually both sets of minutes that we need to make sure we're following up on, because some of them are pretty important. Thank you.
Okay, so moved by Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Reckow. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And the minutes are unanimously approved. Okay, we have some important proclamations this evening, and the first one is from Durham Technical Community College, celebrating the 35th anniversary of recognizing the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And we have Jacqueline Mitchell. Do we have Jacqueline Mitchell here from Durham Tech? Thank you for being with us. And if you don't mind coming up to the podium this evening on behalf of Durham Tech. And Jacqueline is the Director of Business and Entrepreneurship Career Pathways at Durham Technical Community College. Thank you for being with us. And Commissioner Reckow, who is our liaison to that board, is going to read the proclamation.
And I also want to recognize Barker French, who's here. He's also on the Durham Tech Board. So it's my pleasure to read this proclamation. Durham Technical Community College 35th anniversary, celebrating the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. 2020. Whereas in 1985, a few staff and faculty of Durham Technical Community College came together to celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. exactly 1 year before it became a national holiday. And at that time, no one knew the importance of that small event and how so many years later, it would be a tool to measure how far we as a college have walked towards the dream that Dr. King shared in his 1963 I Have a Dream speech. And whereas in 2001, Durham Tech's president, Dr. Phil Wynn Jr., declared that the Friday prior to the national holiday be Durham Tech's official day of celebration in honor of Dr. King. And whereas to honor the memory of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and commemorate his dedication to equality and justice through nonviolent resistance, in 2017, Durham Tech established the I Have a Dream Award, a need-based scholarship offered annually to one degree-seeking and one non-degree-seeking student from funds provided through private donors. And whereas for the past 35 years, members of Durham Tech staff and faculty have conducted an annual program that has included many prominent North Carolina citizens who share their memories, talents, knowledge, and experiences that uplifted, encouraged, empowered, and motivated the campus community to continue Dr. King's mission. And whereas Durham Tech continues to promote the values set by Dr. King through this annual event to provide a direction for the future by creating the opening doors of equal opportunities and for affording each individual inclusion, respect, and understanding. And whereas we thank our former president, Dr. Phil Wynn Jr., and our current president, Dr. William Bill Ingram, for realizing the importance of this event and for the continued support and contributions to make it happen. And most of all, we thank Dr. King for his dream that we continue to cherish. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Wendy Jacobs, Chair of the Durham Board of County Commissioners, and on behalf of the Durham Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim January 17th, 2020 as Durham Technical Community College 35th anniversary, celebrating the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in Durham County, North Carolina, and commend its observance to all citizens in recognition of the positive impact on our community. This, the 13th day of January 2020, Wendy Jacobs, Chair, Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Rakow. So thank you so much for being with us tonight and for all that Durham Tech does, but especially this day. This has always been a special day at Durham Tech in our community.
We are very, very pleased to have this proclamation, and thank you so very much.
And can you tell us a little bit about what's going to be happening that day and how people can get involved if they would like to join in?
Absolutely. This year, our guest speaker is Senator Valerie Foushee. She is our guest speaker and been a part of Durham Tech for a very long time. We also have Sharon Clarence Burkhead, who is a part of our program. The program is basically open for faculty and staff of Durham Tech. We've been doing this for a long time, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger every year. Also, a part of our event, we do community service that day, and we also sometimes do community service on that Monday also. This year, we're doing a blood drive. So I don't think a lot of the faculty and staff know this yet, but the blood truck will be out there at the same time we're having the event.
So that will be on Monday you'll be doing this?
That actually is going to be on Friday. Right
Okay, this
after
coming
the event.
Friday.
Mhm.
Okay. So all the events are taking place on Friday.
This year it is, yes.
Okay, so the blood drive, and can other people participate in the blood drive, or is it just for the students and the staff and the faculty?
Actually, this event is strictly for faculty and staff. We
Okay.
have other events during the week that is part for the students of Durham Tech.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, thank you for embracing the meaning of Martin Luther King's life and the holiday by having a program like this. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Please come forward.
Great to see you. You will?
Okay, and in the spirit of also Martin Luther King, we always have an important proclamation for National Mentoring Month. And I would ask that DeWarren Langley, who is the executive director of the Charles Hamilton Houston Foundation, if you don't mind coming to the podium, and I'm going to read this, and then we'd love to hear from you as well. Durham Board of County Commissioners Proclamation, National Mentoring Month 2020. Whereas in 2002, the Harvard School of Public Health and Mentor, the National Mentoring Partnership, created National Mentoring Month. And whereas the goals of National Mentoring Month are to raise awareness of mentoring, recruit individuals to mentor, encourage organizations to engage and integrate quality mentoring into their efforts, and motivate youth to excel. And whereas a mentor is a caring person that provides a consistent presence and devotes time to a young person to help that young person discover personal strength, to persevere and achieve their potential through a structured and trusting relationship. And whereas quality mentoring encourages and empowers young people to make positive choices, promote self-esteem and character development, support academic achievement, and introduce young people to new ideas. And whereas positive youth development theory understands adolescence as a distinct developmental phase, where boundary testing and individual identity development are critical steps on the path to adulthood, steps that need to be supported, nurtured, and cultivated by patient and caring adults in a safe environment in order to reach their full potential. And whereas mentoring programs have shown to be effective in combating school violence and discipline problems, substance abuse, incarceration, truancy, and professional success. And whereas research shows that young people who were at risk for not completing high school, but who had a mentor, were 52% less likely than their peers to skip a day of school, 55% more likely to be enrolled in college, 46% less likely than their peers to start using drugs, 130% more than twice as likely to say they held a leadership position in a club or sports team, and 78% more likely to volunteer regularly in their communities. And whereas mentors help young people set career goals and use their personal contacts to help young people meet industry professionals and find jobs to improve professional outcomes for young people. And whereas mentors serve a critical role in helping youth successfully complete high school and gain admission to college, equipped with the skills and capacities they need for success in college and career. And whereas National Mentoring Month is the time of year where engagement from community members interested in becoming a mentor is highest, and an opportunity to celebrate, evaluate, and encourage mentoring in Durham. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Wendy Jacobs, Chair of the Durham Board of County Commissioners, and on behalf of the Durham County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of January 2020 as National Mentoring Month in Durham County, and hereby call upon public officials, business and community leaders, educators, and citizens to observe this month with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs in order to recognize the men and women who serve as staff and volunteers at quality mentoring programs and help our young people find inner strength and reach their full potential. Acknowledging that mentoring is beneficial because it facilitates healthy identity development, encourages educational achievement, reduces juvenile delinquency, expands career readiness, improves life outcomes, and strengthens communities. Promote the creation, expansion, sustainability, and funding of quality mentoring programs across Durham to equip young people with the tools needed to lead healthy and productive lives. And support initiatives to close the mentoring gap and promote critical mentoring to support boys of color who perceive, with mentors, who perceive and understand social, political, and economic oppression, and to take action against oppressive elements of society. This, the 13th day of January 2020, Wendy Jacobs, Chair, Durham Board of County Commissioners. So thank you, Warren, for this exceptional proclamation that you have brought to us, and we are proud to proclaim today and this month as National Mentoring Month, and all of the important points and information that you share with us. So we'd love to hear from you speak about the importance of mentoring.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Jacobs and members of the Board of County Commissioners, county manager, staff. Every year, this proclamation comes before this board to reiterate the importance of supporting our young people. I serve as Executive Director of the Charles Hamilton Houston Foundation, which works to provide academic, leadership, and professional development to young men of color to ensure that they are career and college ready. We have two main programs that we offer. One, the Young Men of Excellence, which meets on the the first and third Saturdays at North Carolina Central School of Law from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. Currently, we have about 30 young men that participate in that program. We have a capacity for 100, so we are currently recruiting and actively welcoming new young men between the ages of 11 and 18. We will be planning a trip to the National African American Museum in Washington, D.C. on April the 10th, 2020. That's something to get used to saying. And we will continue to provide these supportive services. We have career prep coaches that engage with these young men, that help them understand what's necessary in terms of the skills, network, and education to prepare them for careers. We also engage young men at North Carolina Central University to serve as college prep coaches to help them understand what it takes to enroll in college, but also the skills and discipline necessary for success in college. There are other youth service organizations present tonight, and I will welcome them to come up and briefly share about their organizations. Thank you, Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you.
I'm Jasmine Young, and I have a mentoring program for young ladies entitled Road to Generation, and it means raising humble, obedient, daring adolescents. We have young ladies ages 12 through 18 years old. We focus on community service, empowerment, and sisterhood. And through all social media, you can find us on just typing in Road to Generation. We can get them signed up. Currently, we just started about a year ago. We have 6 consistent young ladies. And we are also recruiting right now for 12 to 18.
Thank you.
I'm Ray Johnson. I'm the Technical Outreach Chair for the National Society of Black Engineers, the RTP chapter. This month, we just launched our collegiate mentoring program where engineering professionals will mentor college students as they pursue an engineering degree. We currently have 18 students from 6 schools around the area, 11 mentors who are tutoring those 18 students. They're going to help them with job readiness, job fairs, getting their LinkedIn page and resumes together. We're also going to be launching a K through 12 math tutoring program to close the math performance gap. You can sign up, volunteer for any of our initiatives at rtpnsbe.org. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Larry Campbell. I am chairman of the board of the Thomas Mentor Leadership Academy. We're a group mentoring organization. We mentor young men between the ages of 9 and 18 who have been raised by a single parent, the single legal guardian, or their grandparents. We focus on education, decision-making, and the focus on self-worth, and to make them quality people so they're able to go and provide service. One of our key focuses on community service. Community service, especially during this time of the year, is focused for our young men, and you will see them out throughout the community, especially on Martin Luther King Day, so we can make sure that they understand what service is all about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Steve Chalmers. I'm the president of the Men of Vision organization. Men of Vision is an organization comprised predominantly of African-American men. Our goal is to actually provide positive support to youth of color as well as their families. We identify and bring to the table resources to address the quality of life of those individuals who mostly live in low-income communities. For the last 4 years, our focus has been the McDougall terrorist community, where we have worked primarily with the youth 13 to 18 years old. We have a youth organization. They are now called the Powerful Teens. And they're from 13 to 18 years of age. We provide opportunities for field trips and mentoring. We recently have taken them on field trips to the D.L. Force Foundation Presidential Ball. Also, they attended the 150th Durham celebration closing ceremony at the DPAC. But basically what we try to do is to introduce them to activities and places outside of the community to allow them to see what's going on in the community and how they can be a part of that. I'm also here this evening. I had a call from Winslow Forbes, who's the chairman of the board for the D.L. Force Foundation. I currently serve on their board. And he wanted me to give you his regrets for not being able to be here this evening. He's ill. But the D.L. Force Foundation is another program which provides structured and disciplined programming for youth. The age involves kids from 10 to 17 years of age. It is a year-round program that includes boot camps, wilderness training, And they also basically do school visits and monitor the kids throughout the year. This is another, again, program that we partner with, as well as, I'm speaking for a lot of programs because I talked also today with Pastor Christian from Russell Memorial, and they've recently worked with Men of Vision, and we've created a program at Burton Elementary School where we go in during the week to interact and mentor the young kids at that particular school. And he also regrets that he wasn't able to be here this evening. So we thank you, as has been said earlier, for recognizing mentoring programs throughout the community, also recognizing the need that exists in our community to mentor our kids, because as we continue to do this, we could actually stop that cycle of violence and other adverse behavior that we experience with our kids, and it's going to take positive interactions. I actually was doing some reading today, and I saw a quote from a conference that I attended back in 2007, if you could believe it. And one of the things that it indicated that the biggest gift that a parent can leave his child is a good example. So what we try to do is provide good examples and allow kids to see what they can be. So we thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. And DeWarren, I also saw, besides the mentoring program you have at NCCU, aren't you also doing something at Lyon Park?
Yes, First Calvary Baptist Church every year does a youth lock-in that starts on Sunday evening and it runs through noon on Monday, January the 20th, at which time young people between the ages of 11 and 17 participate in different development as well as learning about the civil rights movement, Dr. King, and they stay up all night engaging in positive youth development, and then they participate in the youth and rally, the march and rally of the Martin Luther King Jr. Steering Committee.
And I wasn't even thinking of that. I was thinking about the tutoring at Lyon.
Oh, yes. I do so much, you got to be a little bit more specific. But we have Project Find tutorial and remediation program that provides tutorial assistance every Saturday from 10 until 12 at the Community Family Life and Recreation Center at Lyon Park. The service is free, K through college, and the students receive a snack halfway through the 2 hours.
Thank you. And so my question to all of you organizations here who are doing amazing work, how can we help support you, and are you all connected into the Edmond with My Brother's Keeper, with the City County Office on Youth, Durham Public Schools? We have this problem in our community with people not being connected and communicating. So DeWarren, I don't know if you can speak on behalf of everybody, but what can we do to help? Or are people connected?
We, as a community, continue to struggle with coordination, alignment, and collaboration. That is something that we definitely need. We need an overall youth development plan as well as a plan for young men of color in this community so that we all understand what our strategies are and what the outcomes we're working to accomplish. So that is definitely something that is much needed, because together we can do so much more to change these outcomes. And it's not just about changing the narrative. It's not just about having proclamations. It's really about changing the lives of the young men that we work with.
Well, thank you. And Commissioner Recco, you look like you want to say something.
Well, I just want to piggyback on what you said. There was an excellent discussion that some of you here tonight were at a few months ago. Edmund, our MBK coordinator, brought people together who are serving youth, and it was a great discussion. Has there been follow-up by Edmund with you as a result of that discussion? Maybe you could brief us on what's happened since.
Yes, ma'am. We brought in several groups throughout the county as well as the city. And he's scheduled to have another group meeting, I think, sometime in February, in which he's getting some of the dynamics together so we can make sure we share key information about each one of the groups.
Right.
So we can share that together and take advantage of grants and everything else so we can apply for different things.
One of the things I've thought about, and it's not just with the mentoring, but it's with initiatives throughout the youth continuum, is we have a lot of great programs. What we need, and maybe at least 0 to 8 of the assessment that we're going to get through the Durham version of the Early Childhood Action Plan, would be an assessment of what is the extent of the need for X program in the community, how many young people are being served now, and what is the gap? And it would be the same thing for mentoring. You know, great programs, but what's the extent of the need and what's the extent of the gap? I'd love you to bring that up maybe the next time you meet, because if we're going to make headway, we've got to figure out how much more of a valuable service we need to serve, as Steve Chalmers just said, all the young people.
And I think you're exactly right, ma'am. And I think one of the things that's happening right now, because we met with him, I guess, was just talking about offline about some of the things that's going on, where he's going to provide some resources that everybody in all the groups can take advantage of. And you mentioned education for one. You know, for example, let's say somebody decides you're going to go visit a major university. Let's not just make it to the small group, make it a big group, give everybody the opportunity that they can pitch in and send out people to participate in that, get 2 or 3 buses, whatever we need. Just a matter of coordinating that. So I know he's working with some things like that so we can bring everybody together to get everybody singing on the same sheet of music. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Howerton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also want to say thanks all of you for the work that you're doing. There's so much more or greater need than you are able to provide, and we understand that, and resources are always at the crux of what it is that you're trying to do. And as my colleague just said, is how can we help as far as resources that supports what you're doing. I just ran into, speaking of the young ladies, I'm trying to remember where I was, and I was at the PAC meeting on Saturday, and a mother was asking, was there any programs that were specifically for young ladies? So I may want to get your information to relay back to her. But in our community with our youth, there is such a need, and I know that you are doing all that you can, and I just want to say I thank you for the work that you do. And I know, Dewan, I don't know how you do all the stuff you do.
Single with no kids.
Thank all of you.
Well, thank you, Dewan. If you will come forward and receive the proclamation.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Hi,
Hey, Brad.
good to see you.
Good, man. How you doing?
Thank you. Good seeing you again.
Hey, man. Great. All right.
Long time no see. Good to see you. You look good. You almost look younger than you did 15 years ago. Hi, good to see you. Hi, Warren. Good to see you. Thanks for all your work on this.
Okay. I know. He hasn't changed.
Taking youth pills. I've known him for 25 years.
Youth pills?
Yeah.
Give us all some.
You want this? Put it in.
Okay. Where's the other one?
It's too long. It doesn't fit our normal ones.
So we got one more?
Yes, so, Jawan, don't sit
gosh.
down, or whoever else. We've got a few people here. Our next proclamation is celebrating and honoring the life and service of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We've got Reverend Lucas here, and we've got Spencer Bradford, and also Dewan. You're a part of this too. Anybody else who is, please don't be shy. So Commissioner Howerton is going to share this proclamation, then of course we love to hear from you all.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would just want to say, if Ashley, as you were standing, I thought about this proclamation that I'm getting ready to read, and Martin Luther King and the commitment that he was and the commitment that you are. That just kind of, just like sits there. Just kind of sit with that. Just kind of sit with that one. So, I'm going to read this. Durham Board of County Commissioners Resolution celebrating and honoring the life and service of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Whereas a champion of nonviolence and justice, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. devoted his life to strengthening the content of America's character and fought unrelentingly for the civil rights of all Americans and taught us that courage displaces fear, love transforms hate, acceptance despicts prejudice, and mutual regard cancels empathy. And whereas in the face of hatred and violence, Dr. King preached a doctrine of nonviolence and civil disobedience to combat segregation, discrimination, and racial injustice, and believe that people have the moral capacity to care for other people. Whereas Dr. King was one of the leaders of the successful 381-day Montgomery bus boycott in 1955 to protest the arrest of Rosa Parks and the segregation of the bus system. And whereas Dr. King helped found and served as the first president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in 1957 to coordinate and support nonviolence direct action as a method of desegregating bus systems across the South. And whereas between 1960 and 1964, Dr. King made addresses in Durham at White Rock Baptist Church, the Durham Business and Professional Chain, Hillside High School, the Southern Political Science Association, at the Jack Tar Hotel, North Carolina College, now North Carolina Central University, and Duke University, urging civil disobedience and nonviolent protest to end racial segregation and discrimination. And whereas Dr. King traveled more than 6 million miles, spoke more than 2,500 times, and wrote 5 books and numerous articles supporting efforts around the country to end injustice and bring about social change and desegregation between 1957 and 1968. Whereas on August 28, 1963, Dr. King led the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, the largest rally of the civil rights movement, during which, from the steps of the London Memorial and for a crowd of more than 200,000 people, Dr. King delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, in which he called for an end to racism and advocated for the civil and economic rights of African Americans. Whereas the March on Washington was instrumental in the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin, and prohibited unequal application of voter registration requirements and racial segregation in schools, employment, and public accommodations. And whereas Dr. King helped to organize the monumental, inspiring Selma to Montgomery marches in 1965 to advocate for passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to guarantee African American citizens the right to vote. Whereas Dr. King was supporting the garbage workers in Memphis, Tennessee, and planning the Poor People's Campaign to promote economic justice when he was assassinated in Memphis on April 4th, 1968. And now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the Durham Board of County Commissioners, do hereby resolve to recognize and honor the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., and his commitment to improve the human conditions of all people through access to quality education, affordable housing, equal opportunity, living wage employment, safe and humane labor conditions for all employees, and quality health care. Be it further resolved that the Durham Board of County Commissioners call on the residents of Durham County to join us in reflecting and advancing Dr. Martin Luther King's life and fulfilling his dream. This, the 13th day of January 2020, signed by all the commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Howerton, and thank you again for this another outstanding document that, again, has so much. It helps remind us of the history and why we're here today and all the issues that are just the same issues that we're confronting today in our community. So thank you, Pastor Lucas and Spencer Bradford, DeWarren, anyone else who's here tonight who's a part of this effort. Thank you.
Commissioner Jacobs, Commissioner Howerton, thank you for reading that so eloquently. County Commissioners, on behalf of, and I wrote this earlier to the Mlk Steering Committee, it's about 12 of us that worked all year to organize this. I wrote this to them earlier, and I said, every year you sort of have a pep rally before you in this last week. And this week I said, on behalf of the thousands of people that will have a reprieve from animosity, hate, bigotry, and focus on love, unity, and fighting for justice and equal rights and to empower people, we want to say thank you, Durham County Commissioners, for this resolution and supporting Dr. King's dream and helping to keep it alive by taking time out to just give a resolution saying that you support Dr. King's dream and that you support it as a community. Words cannot express how important that is to us. If we ever needed love, now is the time. If we ever needed to reflect on unity and peace, now is the time. And I'm so proud to be a citizen of this community that shares in that dream and doesn't mind pausing to say thank you, all the Dr. Kings that are still here today, the mentors and so forth. So we thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to let you all know about all the great programs and events that we have coming up to honor and recognize Dr. King. So real quickly, starting with the Interfaith Prayer Breakfast that will happen at the Sheraton Imperial Hotel. Breakfast will start at 6 a.m. and will promptly end at 7:15. And that will be the 40th annual Interfaith Prayer Breakfast. And then we will have our Unity March and Rally beginning at North Carolina Mutual, and it will end at First Presbyterian. That march will begin at 10:30 a.m. And then our day of service will be in partnership with Jubilee Home, which is at 404 East Umstead Street, which provides residential and therapeutic services to men returning from incarceration. And so we will be helping with picking up trash, completing yard work, painting, serving food, and landscaping. Then we will have our annual religious service with Reverend Erica D. Smith. She is a senator in the North Carolina General Assembly. That will begin at 6 p.m. at Mount Calvary United Church of Christ. At that event, we will acknowledge the recipients of the 2020 Keeper of the Dream Award. As you all acknowledged Ashley Kennedy earlier, she is a nominee for that award. We will announce the winners, and then we will also give our academic scholarships to students attending high school here in Durham. So we will have a lot of great events, and if your schedule permits, we will definitely welcome and appreciate your attendance. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I just want to recognize you all, members of the committee, because you work so hard. You do work all year to host all of these events for Martin Luther King Day, and there is no other community that I know of that celebrates Martin Luther King's legacy the way we do in Durham, and that's thanks to all of your efforts. On behalf of the community, I want to thank you and recognize you for that. And I just want to get the time, the 404 East Umstead Street at the Jubilee. What time is that?
That begins at 1 o'clock and it concludes at 4.
Okay, 1 to 4. And then.
We will email you all this information. So
Okay,
you can have it as well.
all right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you again. And we ask if you would please come forward for the resolution.
Thank you. Great job, great job, great. See you again, great job.
That concludes our ceremonial items. We have a number of consent agenda items. Let's see, items 19-0621 through 20 through 0028. I do want to highlight and ask staff, put people on the spot for these items, because there are, I think, at least 3 really important items on here that I don't want to be ignored. So I'm going to let you, Mr. Manager, could you tell everyone just a little bit about the MOU for the 300 and 500 and why that's important?
So, Madam Chairman, members of the board, obviously, we have reached private partners for the express purposes of developing parking structures in addition to housing and workforce housing on both 300 and 500 block. This memorandum essentially begins to advance.
So thank you. So very exciting milestone with our affordable housing project. And took a lot of work for everyone who is involved in the MOU. Thank you so much. Second thing I want to highlight is I'm going to put you, Barker, and David on the spot. If you could just come up for a minute and tell us why this is so exciting that we are going to do, we're going to be the first county in North Carolina to do an early childhood action plan. That's our goal.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us here today. This is a really exciting time. You know, Governor Cooper came and spent some time with us in Durham sometime last year when he was rolling out his early childhood action plan. And as a community, we sat with him and said, Governor Cooper, the work that we're doing here in Durham aligns very well with your plan. And so the opportunity now for Durham to come together, create alignment with the many partners that are doing tremendous work in that birth to 8 segment, will then yield us the Early Childhood Action Plan. And we're striving to be the first county in North Carolina to actually have a plan and then begin moving towards an implementation phase. So thank you again for your support.
And we're excited to be in partnership with the Durham Children's Initiative, soon to be Durham Children's Initiative is the name. When is that official?
So it's
It's
official now.
It's official now.
We're
Okay.
still embracing the
Okay.
Durham Children's Initiative and
Okay,
dropping
Durham
the E.
Children's Initiative is going to be one of our lead partners on that. So we're super excited about taking this step. So thank you.
Thank you.
And then lastly, Tobin, if you could come up and tell us about why our new policy about water bottles, plastic water bottles, why is this important?
Yes, Tobin Freed, Sustainability Manager for the county. I'm very excited for the leadership that the commissioners are showing with adopting this policy. It is prohibiting the use of county funds for single-use water bottles. And I think we're all aware of the problems that plastics have in our environment and in our health. And when they are either not recycled, it's a waste of resources, or they end up in the environment because they're not disposed of properly. They get in our waterways, cause all sorts of problems. And so there's a real easy solution, which is to drink the wonderful tap water we have here in Durham. We're very lucky to have good, high-quality tap water. And so we will be implementing this policy as of July 1st, and then no county funds will be used for purchasing bottled water, except in instances of public health emergencies or something like that where it's necessary to do that. So I thank you for your leadership on this.
Well, thank you. And I want to particularly call out Commissioner Carter for spurring us all to action. And people who say the government is slow, let me tell you, this happened very quickly. Before the holidays, we had our staff come back with, can you lift, I don't have mine, somebody lift up their water bottle. Durham County water bottles. We came in after the holidays with these water bottles. They had a plan. We asked Deborah at our work session, please come up with a policy. 1 week later, worked with Tobin. We're approving it tonight. Done. So we've created a world record for local government to take action on an issue. And it's all about everyone working together to make it happen. So thank you. Okay. Does anyone want to highlight anything else? So
I would move approval.
Okay, so moved by Commissioner Reckhouse, seconded by Commissioner Carter. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the consent agenda is unanimously approved. We have several public hearings. Okay, the first one is a public hearing and award of franchise to provide non-emergency ambulance service in Durham County. And we have, who we're hearing from is Jan Care of McDowell County. And are you going to take over just introducing everybody?
Yes, ma'am. I'll
Thank
take care
you
of that.
so much.
Kevin is out sick tonight. He sends his regards. So I will be filling him from this evening. We do have
Okay,
3
thank
public
you.
hearings for your consideration tonight. The first being Jan Care of West Virginia. This is for non-emergent transport of patient services, mostly interfacility between hospitals or between nursing homes and also dialysis facilities. So it's services that we don't provide as Durham County EMS ourselves, but we do have our partners who do provide those services for us. Jan Care is a current partner of ours. They have a current franchise agreement with the county. This will be renewing it for an additional set of years. They have been in compliance with all the requirements of the franchise, and they have been recommended for approval by the peer review committee within EMS as well. With that, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, now open the public hearing. Anyone here to speak? I will now close the public hearing. The matter is before us. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So
I
moved.
wanted to say
Oh.
one.
Okay, Commissioner Carter.
I'm looking at the second page, page 2, I guess, of 30 of one of our attachments, the application, I guess it is. And on the second page, it has one line where the applicant agrees not to discriminate as to any person with regard to race, color, creed, national origin, or gender. I was just surprised it didn't include the sexual orientation and gender identity. We usually have at least sexual orientation in the list. This appears to be, a standard template form, but going forward, I would like to suggest we expand that list of protected categories. And I don't know, I guess I would ask actually each of the potential franchise award winners if, they would agree to, add that. And if not here on this paper, just in practice.
And I guess, Lowell, if you could comment on what our traditional contracts say typically.
Jerry Long with Jane Care Ambulance
Yeah.
Service. Commissioners, thank you for your time. Great question. Jane Care already employs these in our normal hiring practices as protected class. We would have no problem at all adding that to official language.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for raising that. Okay, so.
Madam Chair, since you asked the question,
Yeah.
I do believe that years ago, we found many more situations that did include sexual orientation. And I think as a result of House Bill,
142.
it was one of them, I forget the
HB2.
number right now, but there was some, I'll check to be sure, but I think there was some reason that we did not continue including that. But I'll check and get back with you, the board on that.
Well, thank you for being willing to include it in practice. Really
Yes,
appreciate
Commissioner,
that.
anytime. Any other questions?
Nope, I don't think so.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
I would move approval.
Moved by Commissioner Reckas, second by Commissioner Carter. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And the motion's unanimously approved. We have a second hearing. This is also for the award of franchise to provide non-emergency ambulance service. And this is for Lifestar Emergency Services, LLC. And anyone have any questions regarding this contract?
I would ask the same question.
Good evening. I'm Mike Hoots with Lifestar Emergency Services, and we would be glad to adjust the application as you suggested.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. I will now open the public hearing. Anyone here to speak during the public hearing? I will now close the public hearing. The matter comes before us. I entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Carter, seconded by Commissioner Howerton. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion is unanimously approved. We have a third public hearing. Franchise to provide non-emergency ambulance service. And this is with North State Medical Transport. And any questions?
Same question, please.
While he's coming up, I just checked it. It was House Bill 2 that nullified local ordinance related to protecting gender. What we need to check is when they passed that compromise.
HB 140.
Yeah, last year, whether it restored anything. That's what you need to
Yeah,
check.
and also that will be sunsetting, 142.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good evening, Commissioners. Alex Strickler with North State Medical Transport, and we would also happily change any language.
Okay. Great, thank you so much. Okay, I will now open the public hearing. Anyone here to speak on this? I will now close the public hearing. The matter is before us.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Reckow, seconded by Commissioner Howerton. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion's unanimously approved. Okay, we have one more item of business, presentation of the FY 2019 Annual Financial Audit and Comprehensive Annual Financial Report and the fiscal year 2019 Annual Single Audit and Compliance Report. And we've got Susan Tezai here with us, and
Yes,
we
now I was
have
going to,
Sherry Burkhart here, and
and so Scott Duda,
And Scott
partner
Duda.
who manages Durham County's financial audit and single audit, and Leanne Bagasala, who's sitting right there. She's our audit manager every year. She loves us.
well, thank you all for being here. So Scott, we'll let you take it away.
Thank you. She loves you all, yes. I'm here for the easy questions, and Leanne is here for any challenging questions y'all may have this afternoon. So I've got a brief presentation, excuse me, and like I said, I'd be happy to take any questions you all may have. You should have received your comprehensive annual financial report prior to the meeting. Over 200 pages of material, and then also several letters, and I'll make reference to those today. I'll make reference to some page numbers as well. That's really just for your information. If you want to take notes, you certainly don't need to follow along, but just for your information. So what I plan to cover today, I'll talk a little bit about the audit. The first thing I want to say, that document that you see in front of you represents over 800 hours of Cherry Beckert's time. And then I am sure some multiple of that for county finance staff. And took from March of 2019 through October of 2019. So when you get that document, there's a lot of hours behind that, both on our side as well as finance department. What we'll talk about tonight is the audit areas of focus, the results, and you see the way that that's organized, the financial statements, and then also uniform guidance, that's the federal grant compliance, and then the state single audit, and that's the state grant compliance. And then there are some required communications that I will cover as well. In that comprehensive annual financial report, it's over 250 pages. I would just highlight the management discussion and analysis portion. That's page 3 through 26. If there are 25 pages that you want to focus on, I would suggest those. That's a very high-level summary of county operations prior year, as well as some discussion about going forward and the budget going forward. So the most important couple documents relate to our opinions. So the audit was conducted in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. And then we are also in compliance, or the audit is under government auditing standards, and then also the uniform guidance as it relates to federal programs, and then the State Single Audit Act as it relates to state compliance. So a number of different regulatory bodies provide guidance in terms of compliance that's necessary for this audit. The audit was completed and submitted prior to the December 1st extended due date. That was submitted to the LGC. There were no comments following their review, and they accepted the document that you have in front of you. It was also submitted to the GFOA for the Certificate of Achievement. You have a copy of the prior year certificate on Roman numeral page 23 in the current CAFR. And you all have received that for 18 consecutive years. So something to be very proud of. In terms of the areas of focus, I won't highlight all of these or touch on all of them, but what I will say is we look at both the dollar amount, the magnitude, and then also the risk associated with an account when we plan the engagement, when we start an engagement back in March of 2019. We look at the control environment. We look at the results of prior year control testing. We look at the results of whether there were prior year journal entries, whether there were any issues in prior years, and all of that is factored into the risk that we assign to the various items you see on the slide before you. The other item I'd like to highlight on the right middle, the single audit, the list there, that's a list of all the major programs, the grant programs that we tested in the current year. There are a couple things about that. There are both federal and state programs included there, and the way that we determine that is based both on dollars as well as on a cycle. So if a program exceeds a certain dollar threshold, we have to test that at least once every 3 years. In the case of Medicaid, for example, those dollars are so large, we're going to test that every year. But so that is a good list of the programs that we tested in the current year. In terms of our opinions, both our financial statement and Yellow Book opinions were unmodified. That's the highest level of assurance that we can provide. That says that there were no discrepancies, there were no modifications to our opinion, nothing that we needed to scope out to say that these statements are materially correct. In terms of both internal control and the statutory compliance, and that's both the federal and state programs, there were no instances of noncompliance or findings noted. So the uniform guidance that I mentioned earlier is the federal grant compliance. You have a separate document that is the compliance report, and on page 3 through 5 is that federal opinion, again, unmodified. We did have one finding related to eligibility. You see that listed here. It was a repeat finding. The best way that I can describe this is if you think about your fiscal year, starting July, running through June, when we are completing the audit, we are already into, in some cases well into, the following fiscal year. And so last year, the 2018 fiscal year audit, we did have a finding. You all took it seriously. You have a staff that takes those things seriously. They developed training to train your folks on how to respond to that finding, and then it was remediated throughout the course of the year. When we came in to do the 2019 audit, we pull a sample of files, case files, over the course of that entire fiscal year. In some cases, towards the end of the year, we saw that they were already remediated. In this instance, it was earlier in the year and had not been yet. And so that's the reason for the repeat finding. You always want to mitigate those to the best of your ability, but it's not unusual for there to be repeat findings when the remediation happens during the course of the subsequent fiscal year. On page 11 of that compliance supplement, or that compliance section, gives you the details specifically related to that finding. On page 12, you'll see the county's response and corrective action. This is something that we will test June 30, 2020 during that audit to make sure that, again, it's been addressed. On the state single audit, because this finding related to both the medical assistance program that has both federal and state dollars.
Can I just stop you 1 minute? When you say, are you referring to this?
Yes.
Okay, because I know some people are looking in their books, but I just
Yeah.
wanted to make.
So you've got two documents, the large CAFR and then that
Talking
compliance
about
report.
page 11 in this layout.
Page 11 in
Already
that document.
I know. I just wanted, I saw Heidi looking in the book.
Yeah.
No, I
That's
was
the
just,
finding.
I was taking notes, actually. I wasn't looking at anything.
Yeah.
So because this program had both federal and state dollars, we're required to report it in both our federal and state opinion. It's not that there were two findings, it's one finding, but there are both federal and state dollars, so we're required to report it in both. In terms of required communications, there were no changes in accounting principles or accounting policies. There were no material corrected misstatements. There were no uncorrected misstatements. You all, I can't stress this enough how unusual it is that there are both neither material adjustments or past adjustments for an entity of your size. The other thing that I would mention, we did have the one finding both in the federal and state program. To give a little bit of perspective, prior to, you all have built out a team of people that address the compliance findings and ensure that there's training and remediation on those things. Part of the reason for that was in response to the number of compliance findings that you all had a decade plus ago. And as I was driving over here thinking about sort of framing this discussion, if we would go back 15 plus years, which I recognize is a long period of time, there was a time where the county had, I remember distinctly, at least 18 findings, compliance findings in one particular audit. So just to give you some perspective in terms of how far you've come. And then lastly, my contact information. I'm happy to take any questions now, but then also throughout the course of the year, while I come before you once every year, we certainly want this to be a dialogue. If you all ever have any questions about the audit, about any accounting standard, about anything audit related, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you very much, Scott, and I appreciate you giving context. And I want to also give another level of context as a member of the DSS board, is that these findings happened in a department where we have been struggling with vacancies. And so I know that staff has really been struggling, working so hard. They do a great job, but it has been very difficult when they have not had enough staffing. So I just want to put out there because they're fantastic. But yeah, okay. Commissioner Recco?
Well, you took the words almost from out of my mouth when you talked about the quality of the work in the audit. I think it's just about the cleanest audit I've seen, and so kudos to our finance staff. Great work. So I just wanted to commend you. I mean, I did see those relatively minor things out of social services, but in the scheme of things, it wasn't a material finding, so that's really good. I had a question, and it's on the interest rate swap that we have. You know, we used to get periodic reports on that, maybe semi-annually, and we haven't gotten them in a long time. So I was trying to ferret out from this, are we earning money right now, losing money? Where are we?
We're earning money, but we're not earning it at the rate that we were prior to the Jobs Act, but it's still very positive. We can certainly start implementing that again. I did not know that, so I apologize. We can also give you the present value on a monthly basis so you can see the positive value and whether it's going up, down. But the positive value this past year was, but it's very, very good.
So that's good. Yeah, I mean, there was a time when we were earning some big bucks from the interest rate swap, you know, in the 1 to 2 million range each year. I guess it's not as high now.
Yeah, the positive value at June 30 was 5.6 million, over 5.6 million, which meant if we got out of it at that point in time, that would come to us. Yes, and we did used to earn like 2-point-some million.
Yeah.
Now we're like a little over 1-point-some million.
Okay, but we are still earning money. That's good. And I know we set aside a certain amount in a pot so that if, I mean, there is, as you've highlighted in the audit, we run a risk with this, but we have the money set aside, so if we have to divest ourselves, we have some money to do it, right?
That's correct. Of that 5.6, a little over 3.4 is still set aside to be conservative, just in case it were to go in the negative, that we would not be coming to a financial burden. So we always express that to the rating agencies, and they like that a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, yeah, it'd just be interesting to get some status report periodically. Maybe semi-fall and spring might be good.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Howerton?
Thank you. Could you repeat that again? Was that 18 years of clean audit, or are you saying this is the best one in 18 years? Clarify that a little bit more for me.
Received for 18 consecutive years.
The one year that we did
18
not
consecutive years.
But we've gotten it as long as I've been here, except for 1 year. I've been here since 1993. And the 1 year was because they couldn't come back to the inventory in our component units audit. And if your component unit can't get a clean opinion, you can't get a clean opinion.
So 18 consecutive years. Thank you.
And I just wanted to say that, yes, we do work very well with DSS. They realize the importance of keeping these down. The state auditor, is very into this. And Crystal Wright is our compliance manager. When he was talking about years ago having like 18 findings, we didn't have a compliance manager. So she works very hard, and she works very closely with DSS. They're great team players.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
And then Zach Anderson is the assistant CFO who oversees the financial audit. So, but it's the entire finance team who puts a lot of effort into it. It's huge, but we also get participation from external departments for information and things that we may need from them.
Thank you all for your hard work. It's paid off. Results show. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, so everyone's got Scott's information, phone number, email. Any follow-up questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, that's it. Night.
Yeah.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Howard and seconded by Commissioner Recco. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we're unanimously adjourned.